I guess what I do is artivism, art and activism. I moved to San Miguel in 2007 from England, and my background is event organizer, but also party producer. I produce many of these events that many of you, dance at, and since then, however, I was looking for meaning in these celebrations. It's one point to gather together, and it's another point to gather with meaning, very much like a church used to in these times. So when I organized the first TEDx in Mexico, that was, for me, a desperate call for Mexico to have a different narrative, for Mexico to have a different story. At the time, the narco crisis was coming up, the economy collapsed, and the swine flu made the streets of San Miguel an empty paradise. And the people were suffering, and the people were wondering what's going to happen. And I somehow decided whoever's looking at these TED Talks is people that I want in my town. And I want my town to be the place where these talks and voices are coming from. And so during that time, and very much like this size, it was beautiful, it reminds me a lot of it, there was a young man who spoke that day quite passionately. And he was the son of an ex-president, quite controversial. And so the messenger was controversial, yet the message for me struck me like a chord. It talked about a civil response to the violence that was going on in Mexico. And it spoke about Mexico not being treated as if we have a flu. México no tiene un catarro. México tiene un cáncer. And it struck me then, Mexico's got a cancer. And what are we going to do? By reclusing ourselves in fear into our homes, by reading the papers every day, what are we going to do? And meanwhile, the streets empty, the economy not flourishing, what can I do? At the same time, that following year, I also got the license for doing TEDx at Black Rock City. Black Rock City is the place where the Burning Man Festival happens every year in Nevada. It was the first time that the two worlds of TED and Burning Man had come together, and somehow this place as well was a big lesson for me, because it wasn't just about thinking of ideas, an idea worth spreading, which is what TEDx is about. It's very much ideas into action. How are we going to make these ideas into an action? So that led me to back to San Miguel. Next year, I came with some of the ideas that I'd taken at Burning Man, some of which were, how will we create a more creative society? What is my civic responsibility to create a more civic society? And so the next TEDx that we did was called Energía Humana, Human Energy. And it was during that human energy that one of our speakers, a photographer called Spencer Tunick, came into the town. And I asked him, you cannot come into this town without leaving something of yourself. And we have to do something. Mexico's in crisis right now, and we need to get out and do something. So you have to help us. In 2 days, we called upon 275 of the town's population. The medic, the librarian, the 14-year-old child, the hippie gringos from Berkeley. Everyone came together in a very San Miguel way. And we documented some of the experiences. Why are you here? A 14-year-old girl with Guanajuato, with her mother, was there. I'm here because I want change in Mexico. I am here because I want all of the laws that have gone against women in the state of Guanajuato to change. Other people were there, well, I'm just here because we did this back in the 60s and it was cool. But what I got were the voices that say, yes, we are here, we will create art. And where we were at is in this beautiful place called El Charco del Ingenio. El Charco del Ingenio is a national monument dedicated by the Dalai Lama as a piece of sacred love, as a place of peace. So what better place to host this impromptu TEDx activation called Peace Body Rock? And if you can see in this image, all of these are women. And when we look at the women, it's not about the body image, it's not about what we look like, it's about we as women sacrificing ourselves, utilizing ourselves, very much in the tradition of the Maya with their bloodletting. We are using our bodies to create peace. And indeed, it made me realize we are the ones we have been waiting for, as Alice Walker once said. So this then led to another activity that was also caused by TEDx. And this was, what would you do for your city? In a question posed by the City 2000 Prize, I forgot, it was a question. They asked, what would you do for your city? At the time, again, we observed the beautiful traditions of the Day of the Dead, and naturally the streets are full of pageantry. The streets are full, and the homes are full of papel picado, people setting up their ofrendas, the pan de muertos, leaving these traditions for their lovely departed. And I realized that this is a way that communicates with all of us as humanity, because after all, we are all connected to our ancestors, and we all have a deep tradition to learn from in the Mexican traditions of this connection with our ancestors. So we started a festival. It was a completely volunteer-run festival where we took to the streets, a group of us civic citizens, went to government, said, give us your parks, give us your disused spaces. We called upon charitable organizations, children, and we called upon the most forgotten element of our population, which is oftentimes urban young men, many of which had just returned from the States and were out of work, looking to do what? Nothing. And so we declared a section of San Miguel an urban arts initiative. And as you can see, some of the narrative that's beautiful, they talk of regeneration and coming to birth. So and in La Calaca as well, we also have this parade of Catrinas. And Angelina, who built one of these. These were lining the streets. We gave them each to several artists to do. And Angelina says, I beat it in all of my prayers and all of my heart. So again, she's utilizing art and what she's doing as a means to please, please stop this madness. And this year we constructed a pirámide de muertos, where we took artesanos in San Miguel that make these beautiful tin nichos. And each nicho was given to a different person or organization, American, Mexican, whomever. It was a real variety, and each one interjected their own vision and their own ofrenda to a beloved. And we had this amazing woman, Fabiana Rodriguez, who came to San Miguel. She's a real artivist. She came with a procession called Muertos y Monarcas, to do a story and a procession with children painting and walking into the streets, not just as the dead, but also as butterflies, to raise consciousness for our own ecosystem and the monarcas, which are also disappearing. As a dear curator friend of mine says, art can touch areas in your mind and in your soul that nothing else can touch. And I do believe in the transformative power of art in civic society coming together as a means of peaceful revolution. And we did rituals and we sang. Are they Chichimeca? Are they Maya? We don't know. We just know that it is giving up a higher calling from us as a society, us coming together, and in ritual ceremony, beckoning the gods. And we danced in front of the church, and we allowed the magic, and we begged for our ancestors to come with us and to then live in harmony. And that year, the first year of La Calaca, we did a series called Spirits. We asked Spencer, who by now is a good friend, and we've done several projects together. In this session, we did a series called Spirits, which was an invitational Day of the Dead installation. And I don't know, it was very, very, very cold. But that day, again, 250 people showed up in the freezing cold and had their picture done. And we took this idea because we wanted La Calaca to serve as an ambassador of Mexico, as who we are as human beings. Beyond the burros, beyond the tequila, beyond the beautiful country that is Mexico, we are also a shared humanity. And I wanted this work to be represented outside of Mexico in this place called Burning Man. And we shot this picture at dawn, and for this over 500 people appeared at 4:30 in the morning and rode outside on their bicycles outside, and this beautiful work happened. So this last year, it was October, and we were about to do La Calaca, and we start getting into our face groups, and we're doing the invitations for our various events, and we start getting messages into our Facebook groups. How dare you? You San Miguel people are always having fun and laughing and living in this little bubble. Don't you know what's going on outside? Don't you know what's happening in Oaxaca? Don't you know what's happening in Guerrero? The 43 students had just disappeared, and there was growing concern that it wasn't a good ending. And at the time, we were questioned, we were spited for daring to celebrate with the world going on as it is. And that morning, we did a work called El Sendero de los Remitidos, the trial of the redeemed. And this trial of the redeemed 95% out of 100 women came out, Mexican women, this time burying themselves into this work that we called El Sendero de los Remitidos, and laid themselves in the streets of San Miguel. Now, one thing that's interesting, in talking about the ether, which is the element that I'll be talking about, although you're looking at the pictures that result afterwards, it's not about the pictures. They're a beautiful memory of what's happened. But what occurs in this instance, and what I'm here to emphasize most strongly, is that coming together to create public art, coming together as a community, offers a secular prayer, offers a means to combat what's going on. And it was in the moment of silence, once everyone was set up for the talk, once everyone was there, ready and in position, that the magic occurred. Within us, there was something that connected us, every single one of us, to each other. And a communal prayer, using our bodies as a means, as an offering. This is what happened that day. And later on, as some of the papers reported this. Recently, during that time, I also saw just a little bit ago, there was a photographer called Edgar Oloyin who also started taking pictures, nude pictures of young Mexicans in subways in urban settings with phrases that were reminding of the 43. And he said, in contemporary society, a naked body has become a more alarming sight than a burned cadaver on a front page. And this has got me thinking, why don't we come out more as a community? And wherever you are, you can participate in art. You can allow yourself to experience the beauty that it is to come into community. And you can allow yourself to take a risk and feel love. And I stand before you today asking you to please as well participate in whatever creative experience that you can participate in your towns, and especially you women. Offer yourselves as an ofrenda. We are miracles. We are works of art. And I gather you and I ask you to please cause a change within your own community and make art be the change. Thank you very much.